today we're going to focus specifically on what are called daily routines. And so those are here under the Daily tab in CLIPitc. And we'll go through this fairly systematically. The chat is open. So if you have a question that comes up during the class, go ahead and just use the chat to let me know. I've got a lot of material to cover. Yesterday's class was able to end a little bit early because of the topic, but this one will probably do the whole time. We have I think 75 minutes blocked for this. So we'll see how far we get and hope we cover the most important stuff. All right, daily routines. Basically, this is part of the logic of CLIP. So the way the program is designed to operate is you set up your customers, set up what services they have, and you give them the services a starting date or what we call next visit date. Then from day to day, you want to pull that information out so you can see what's scheduled on a given day. And that's done here under daily and get work. Our terminology we often use would be tabs and subtabs. So these would be tabs, and then what's within the tab would be called a subtab or a section within that. If I use the terminology subtab, I'm meaning these lower actions or sections versus the tabs, which are these top ones. Okay. Just to, again, kind of summarize, I'm refreshing for today's date. Now, what's happening is when I hit Get Work, the program looks at a specific section within jobs to populate the screen. So we're going to go into a customer here, Acme Tires, and we'll look at a job, basic maintenance for Acme. What we're looking at is this field here, the next visit field. When we go into daily then and get work and I give it this date, it's going to pull onto this list every job actually scheduled for the 5th, plus any job scheduled before the 5th that is still in the system. So for instance, on our list should be now this basic maintenance job for Acme Tires because it was scheduled for the end of last year and hasn't been done yet, or the program hasn't been told that it's done yet. So let me just confirm that that's in there. So we go to Acme here, and sure enough, there's the basic maintenance service. Okay, now you don't actually do a lot in this screen. I mean, you can do some things, but typically this is giving you that big picture 30,000 foot view of what's happening. And what's happening is I've got 184 jobs due or overdue for this day. And you can do some sorting here. So if I click on due dates, this can sort it chronologically. And so now you've got the jobs for today on top, and if I click it a second time, the oldest jobs are now on top. So I've got some screwy stuff here, so mow and trim from back in 2003. I've got some snow plowing here from November, irrigation, winterizations, and so on. So this is kind of showing you the whole everything that is on the schedule or that has been scheduled and maybe have been missed by you. But the real action is up here at these sub-tabs. Now, again, the logic is I want to see what's on the schedule, and then having populated what's available on the schedule, the next thing I need to do is to route it. So routing has to do with the order in which you want the work to be done. Now, just to go back to Acme, the routing is based on what's called the routing sequence number here. Low numbers will appear at the top of the route and high numbers at the bottom. So a job you want to do early in the day, you would put it as a low number here, and those that are later in the day, you'd put as a higher number. Now the program has a way to do the routing for you. All right, so I want to look at crew 1 just for today. You can do a date range if you want to. So those of you who may, when it comes time to do mowing, and I was speaking with a company yesterday, that they basically schedule the whole week's worth of work and give that to the crew all at once. They don't give them Monday's work and then the next day give them a separate list for Tuesday and so on. So you could do a entire week here if you wanted to, but typically you do 1 day and 1 crew at a time. The algorithm that Google works with allows us to route up to about 82 or 83 stops. So if you do have a large number of customers, you may have to break that into smaller chunks. So we'll take so let's take a look at this. So we hit get routing. And so here now is the route. Now the current route here is based on what's in the routing sequence number field in the job now. And so if we were to go into these services, we would be able to see why this order is coming up. Okay, so this is the current order. You can zoom in a little bit if you want to look at it in more detail. But let's say you want Google's assistance in routing this. You can click Optimize Stops. Now Google will go through and reassign numbers, and as you see there's some sense here. I mean, these numbers are more accurate than they were a moment ago to 21, 22, and end up here at 23. So this is a nice route. But let's say you get a call from Ben Steitert and he needs to be done first today. You can click on his name here, this and drag it up to the top, and then you hit show route and the route will be updated. Now if you want to, if this is a one-off, so he calls and says, hey, I really need for you to come first for whatever reason, or come do my house earlier first, you could hit save this time, and then this will be the order for today. When these jobs are recorded and finalized, it will reschedule, but when it reschedules, it'll be back in his normal position on the route here. You have got the ability to manually manipulate this. And you also have the save this time and save order permanently. So save this time means Ben's here just for today, and then when he reschedules, he'll be back lower on the list. If I click Save Order Permanently, he will now always be on the top of the route for Monday, or for the 5th Thursdays for that. So this allows you to set up the route once and save it. Now, there are a couple wrinkles to that, or exceptions. If you have a mix of weekly and bi-weekly accounts, so that in week 1, all your weekly accounts show up for that Thursday and half your bi-weekly. And week 2, the same weekly ones show up on Thursday, but the other half of your bi-weekly accounts show up on Thursday. You're going to have to go through this process every day. Just take my word for it that that's what you're facing if you have a mix of weekly and bi-weekly, because having the weekly customers and bi-weekly mixed in together for the first week, if you hit save it permanently and those bi-weekly ones drop off for the second week and the new set of bi-weekly customers are on the schedule, the schedule will not be right for you. Okay, so this is the scheduling. Couple other things, you can adjust things by changing the number here. So if I change this to 4, if I change this to 4, okay, there it is. So now it's turned to 3. Okay, so anyway, I'll have to work on that, because that's supposed to give you another way of setting up where people are on the route. So Okay, now we've got, oh, so now let's go down and see if Steidert, yeah, so there, that moved him. Okay, so that's the routing, and when you hit, so I'm going to go optimize stops again and save order permanently, and we get this nice note here, and now it's given all of these jobs a new routing sequence number, so they'll show up in this order again next week. All right, so that's under daily get work, and again, we're trying to do the logic of it here, and the logic is that you schedule the work and then you route it, and then what you would do next is you would then print a route sheet. So here's the print route sheet for those of you who are not using the app. And one thing I want to point out is you need to pay attention to these date ranges. If you've used versions of CLIP in the past, this is a new feature or function as part of the program. So right now, if I leave the dates the way they are, it's not going to show any of my jobs that were scheduled for 1/5, and likewise, it won't show crew 1 that we were just routing, so you need to come here. And in the calendar, you can navigate this way for those of you who haven't learned that yet. You just click on it, you can click on the month, and then you can navigate a little more rapidly to where you need to go time-wise instead of scrolling month by month. And then we do 1 here. And you could choose to show the phone number, next visit date, different styles of route sheets you can choose from. And this is where route sheet invoices will be printed for application type services. So show route. And here now is the route for the day here. All right, and we've got here crew 1 header. You are able to edit this top section. The default header is a list, place for your crew to sign in and stop time for their days, like for payroll. But you can create a header you want and assign it to each crew. So it could be a checklist, or it could be the names of the people who are normally on that crew, etc. And you would do that header here, edit crew headers for that. All right, so here's now there was a route sheet. So we can go back and take a look at that again. And again, as I and also you could print a summary sheet here. The other programs would automatically, or you could choose to show a summary sheet, and this is the summary sheet from CLIPitc, so a little bit different than what you saw in the older programs. Okay, now that is under daily get work to get the day started. You populate the schedule, you route it, you print out the route sheet and give it to your guys. Before we go to record work though, I want to look at some of these different functions up here in this block, in this rectangle. Again, we've looked at what the date means. This is where you're populating the schedule based on the date you give the program. There's a remove work option here. If you hit remove work, it will then wipe out what's on the schedule, except for work that's in progress or that's already been recorded. When do you use remove work? There's really no harm in using it, as long as if you're using the app though, you'll want to repopulate right away. But remove work is used if in the following situation. You've populated the work bank like this. And let's say I go into McHale Residential's account and I reassign mow and trim from crew 1 to crew 2. If I just come back here and hit get work, it's not going to show that now that's on crew 2. I have to hit remove work, then get work, and that reassignment of the crew will now be triggered and be reflected on the list here. So just keep that in mind, because questions come up frequently. People calling us or texting us and saying, hey, I changed from crew 50 to 51 and I go to get work and it's still on crew 50. What's going on? What's wrong? the typical solution to that is hit remove work and get work, and then the job would have moved from 50 to 51. So just keep that in mind, that if you do change a crew from what's listed here back in the job to a different crew number, in order to refresh this, you'd hit remove work first and then hit get work for that. View work calendar. This will show you on a calendar view what's on the schedule for that day. Now, one thing we're looking at today, and we've got a lot of stuff on the schedule, and we go to crew 1 and we hit view calendar. And holy cow, why aren't we seeing anything? Well, let me show you. If you come here to customize and you go to crew, you can assign a color to each crew. The color assigned here to crew 1 is white. And notice here, the background is white. So we come here and we change this to this color, whatever color that is, and save it. Close. Now let me see, I may have to refresh again, but let's just, and there they are. So if you go in here and you're not seeing it, check the color assigned to the crew. Here now is then the work in a calendar view for today, and you can view it for a day at a time, or you can look at the entire week. So here's some work coming up as well. So this is the calendar. Now, one thing at this stage of the program's development, this is not a dynamic screen in the sense that you can't drag a job from one day to another to adjust the schedule like you could in CLIPitc. There's another way to adjust schedule, which we'll look at in a bit. But this does give you a calendar view, and you can look at what crews are multiple crews here as well. So this I think is kind of useful, but not really as useful as if it were dynamic, which is again a request that we put to development. Okay, so that's the view work calendar. Now, activate zone jobs and activate rounds are a little similar. If you've been with CLIP a long time, and if you do snow removal type services, then you've probably heard us talk about scheduling snow removal as a zone job. Zone scheduling, and so if we go back to a customer here, we can take a look at that. So we'll go to Acme again. And we'll go into a job here. So within the job, you've got schedule types, automatic, zone, and static. Automatic means that when a job is done, it will automatically reschedule, in this case, 11 days later to that Wednesday. That's automatic. You don't have to do anything for the job once it's done to be rescheduled for the next time it's due. Static scheduling here is different in that in static scheduling, which I hardly, in my 25 years with CLIP, I've seen maybe one company or two use this. But static scheduling will show you the calendar, and you can cherry pick what dates you want a job to show up on. So you could say, I want it the first Monday, I want it the next Thursday, Friday, I want to skip 2 weeks and do it on Wednesday. You could do that under static scheduling. Now, zone scheduling is where you have a service like snow removal, where you don't know when it's going to occur, and you don't know once it occurs when it'll occur next. So zone scheduling gives the user control over the schedule, and that control is exercised here. So if I I look out the window, not here in Costa Rica, but perhaps where you are, and it's starting to snow, or you've got snow in the forecast for tomorrow. So you can come to activate zone job and select the job you want to then activate. And it's supposed to be a relatively mild snow event, so I'll just choose 0 to 3, and then I hit activate. Now, these come onto the calendar. This is just having to do with notifications. We'll ignore that. they will come onto the calendar with today's date here. So we scroll down, and here's the snow plowing that we just activated. Now these jobs are on the schedule, and you go out, you do the job as we see, record the work, etc. And then they go back kind of behind the scenes, or they're in waiting for the next time when you come in to activate zone jobs. Again, to pull them back on the schedules. It may snow today or tomorrow, but not for another 3 weeks, and you just activate them as needed for that. So that's activate zone jobs. A similar feature, not identical, is activate rounds. In CLIP, there's a section called Programs and Rounds that was designed specifically for fertilization, pest control, tree and shrub type applications. So what you would do is when the weather gets warm and you realize it's time to do the first application, you can come to Activate Rounds here. And here are the different programs that I have. So I'm going to choose all of them, which is a little unusual. And we'll choose Early Spring Application, Round 1, Lawn Application 1, App 1, Round 1. And then having selected those, you can also then limit the geographic area where you want to pull these up. So if you've got a fairly well-defined service area that you can then divide into subsections, they can either correspond to your zip codes, or you can actually create and assign a customer to a zone. So you might say, okay, we want to do all of the Litchfield properties. And then you would hit next. Now I'm not sure if I have anything set up there, so I'm just going to hit next here. And now it's going to show me all of the jobs or these applications that are on the schedule. So here they are. It says 37 total rounds, total area here, man hours, and then the dollars here. And you can then cherry pick what you want to do, or you can go here, map selection, and you can then see all these properties displayed on a map. No, that's nice, Burkina Faso. So really, I'd have to clean this up a little bit, but I won't bother right now. But I can come in here and I can zoom into my service area, which is Arizona. They say, okay, I want to do this group. So you come up here, you click on the little box, or you could click the squiggly line, and you use your mouse to draw the box around this group. And here now are these, and you can hit Save Selection. And these are now checked on this screen. And if I hit Add Work, these are now all going to be added to the workbank. So now they're going to be added to the schedule. And again, it's prompting me to send out a notification, but I'm going to say no to that. And so now it has added 11 jobs have been processed. Now, by the way, I should have mentioned this, but back here when you're doing the filter and you're choosing which applications you want, you can put here how many days since the last service. As you go through your season and you're doing applications and getting new customers, typically you want a certain number of days to elapse between one round and the other. Well, this gives you the ability to put, say, 30 in here. And then the only jobs that would show up when you hit next would be the ones where at least 30 days have elapsed since the previous application. So that's just another feature of the programs and rounds. Okay, now again, our focus is on daily routine. So this is the way you would populate the schedule with your application type services. One other thing under Activate Zone Jobs. So we selected snow plowing. So let's say that it's a bust, that there is no snow after all. The storm veers off to our east and we don't get hit at all. You can come here and hit deactivate, and then it will remove those jobs from the schedule there. All right, so that's viewing the work calendar, activating zone jobs, activate rounds. The next is adjust schedule. The adjust schedule function allows you to change jobs from one date to another. So let's say that we're going to mow today, but it starts raining. So we need to move the jobs from today to a different day. So what I can do here is I've got my mowing over here, and these you can manipulate this. So I'm going to close out Crew 101, and I'm going to show Crew 1 in its own column here. So I've got these mowing jobs. So what I can do is I can come here, check the box, and move them, say, to Monday. So if I did move jobs, it would then move these jobs to Monday's date. You can also use this to manipulate the schedule. That means if I wanted to move some of these jobs like to a different crew, so Crew 1 has equipment problems, and they've done some of their jobs, but some haven't, so I want to move the jobs to Crew 3, so I come here. Now with this box checked, it will permanently reassign those to Crew 3. If I uncheck this and hit Move Jobs, then these jobs will be moved to Crew 3 for today, but when they reschedule, they'll revert back to Crew 1. So this is kind of a temporary change in the crew assignment based on whatever your circumstances are. So this is a way to manipulate the schedule. Now, for those of you who do mowing and you have a bunch of mowing jobs in your work bank from last year, you can come in here, set the date for, let's say, November 10th. You've got a bunch of jobs sitting on the schedule. Well, you change this to 11/10 to 11/10. The mowing jobs would show up. You can check them off and move those to April of next year or March of next year. On the same day of the week as November 10th, you can move them to that day of the week next March or April. And that way you can get your work ready for next season by using this to move mowing jobs in this illustration to next year or to later this year. So this can be a very helpful feature for you to take advantage of. So I would recommend you spend a little time looking at this and playing around with it. Okay, so back under daily, we then have message customer. Okay, message customer is a neat feature. Again, the scenario is we have had rain, and I want to communicate to my customers that because of the rain delay, we're not going to get out there today. So I can come to message customer, and it's going to pull open a screen with all the work on it. So whether it's scorpion control, irrigation, what have you, and since I only want to do what's scheduled for today, I come here, next visit date, show records. So, okay, now from here I can choose the job. So I'm going to go to mowing, field mowing, and mow and trim all. So now we just have the mowing jobs. Now notice you can email, and now we've got the ability to text your customers. So just to take a little side trip, the way that's set up is within the customer's account here, where you have a phone number, you can check the text box next to any phone number where you want to be able to send a text to that account. If this is all new to you, there's something else you'll have to do. So you come over to the settings here. So we're going to open this in a new tab. And in settings, company info, you need to scroll down to the bottom here and turn texting on. So you'll need to do that if you plan to use texting. Next, as users, you need to give the user permission to do texting. So we'll come to edit here. and it's under, let me see, where are these? And by the way, when you're in this screen, if you've got a check mark here, that means the user has full permissions under that category. So let me see. Where did that go? I should have. Okay, so here, invoice text, daily work text. So I want to make sure those are checked off here. Let me see if there are some others that need to be checked off. Now this is something different, but we'll just go ahead and clean this up while I'm here. Okay, so now I've got full permissions to do that. All right, so back to our daily routines. We come back here, and if you want to email, notice we have some emails here. I can then, so I want to email or tell my customers that because of rain, we're going to be delayed. So I can check off who I want to send it to, come down here and click Create Email. And then here now would be the email template. And this is set up back here. So within customers, marketing emails, daily work message. So in this section, again, customers, marketing emails, daily work message, you can set different templates up. So you could have a template for rain delay with the email already composed here. And then when you're back in this screen, you would just choose that template and it would auto-populate the email. You can always create an email on the fly. So you can come in here and rain delay, come down to the email, compose it here, and one thing you can do is you can add a link, so the job name will appear as well as some others, the customer name, to personalize it, and then you just write what you want, and you can even send an attachment. So if you use this for marketing, you can use that, and then you hit send email, and you now have sent an email to all those customers. Similarly, if you wanted to send the text to the customers, you'd go to Message Customer, choose the jobs you want. So we want mowing services here. Here's our mowing services. We can do the date as well. So we only want work for today. But you click on text here. And you see the numbers here if you had any set up. And the same process. You then check these off. Create text. And you now have the text that you can create here on the fly, or just as we were looking under customer marketing emails, there's daily work text. And you could create templates here. So you could create a template about rain delays or other common occurrences that you might want to send out to customers. One thing about this is if you send a text to the customer, they cannot reply to it. So keep that in mind when you're composing the text. So you might want to put something in there like, please do not reply to this text. If you want to get a hold of us, please call the office or email or what have you, or text and give them a number that they could then create a text and send to you. Now, I believe development is working on creating the ability for them to reply to a number that you set up. But I think there's some costs involved with that we want to try to minimize for our users. But stay posted. This is a very, very new feature of the program. Again, all of this is under daily routines here and communicating with the customer about what's happening on the schedule. Now, just if you want to occasionally do a mass email or perhaps mass email, what you can do is you can create a job called Email Customer and have it show up every 30 days, and then you could use that to email customers, say for marketing or promotional or holiday type communications that you want. Email me if you want to talk more about some of the usage of message customer. Next, and finally for this section, is remove unpaid work. This allows you to, if a customer has fallen behind and owes you money, you can use this to put the jobs on hold or remove them from the schedule, and also send a message to the customer. So that means you're able to, if you look at someone and say, okay, Michael Baylor owes us a bunch of money, I'm going to not provide service for him. So you could check him off and say remove check jobs. And now those 2 jobs would be removed from the schedule for that account. So this can be helpful for you to kind of keep on top of potential or actual deadbeats who haven't been paying, and yet they're still on the schedule for jobs to be done. Okay, all right. So we've kind of, I think we've exhausted the scheduling, printing route sheets, communicating about the schedule to customers through the message customers, adjusting the schedules, how to activate rounds or the snow related or zone jobs here. Now the next thing we'll do would be record work. Now one thing too is if you use the app, and we'll spend a little bit of time looking at the app in a bit, but if you use the app, you can click crew position, and then you can choose the crew you want to see, and then show where the crew is. So if I hit show crew, I may have bogus information in here. So let me just check a couple things off here. Yeah, it's probably not going to let me because I'm in Costa Rica and the app is not a real app, it's an emulator. So, but anyway, it would pull up a map for you showing the position of the app or the device the app is running on a map here. So throughout the day, you can check on the crew, their position. And by the way, with the app, when they hit start or stop for a job, it will geostamp their location, and can see a report showing where they actually were when they started and stopped jobs. Okay. All right. So now the next step we're going to look at is record work. One last thing. Sorry. We were talking about printing route sheets here, and we were talking about like mowing list. But you also have the ability to print out some single sheets here for the rounds that you do. And you can show the prices, and do a message here or payment notes. And then this could be left behind at the customer. So here are nothing. Okay, let me see why did I got the date right. Oh, crew. This is crew 50, so we'll go 50 for this and see. All right, let me try one more time. So we'll go 12999. Okay, here we go. So this could be left behind at the customer. Here's the job description, the amount here. You can design a footer for this. So if we come back here under the filter, you can create footers with information on it. So this is for those of you who do fertilization type services and want to leave behind a notice. And there are different formats you can use, some of which have more information than others. So you can do a legal size, for instance, and that looks more like this. I missed where to find the remove unpaid work. Can you show that again? Okay, no, okay, you found that. Good. So now here's the service address, service name. It would show materials on here if you had materials set up in the job. And this could be left behind. They can tear off this bottom part and send their payment in. So that's another version of what you can do daily in terms of route sheets here. Okay, now we're ready to move on to record work. But let me just check some things here. My notes to see if I've forgotten anything. No, I think we're pretty well on track. Okay, record work. As I mentioned, and as we saw in the print route sheet, you have a date range fields here. So same here. Now, a common call we get from folks is they see a job under get work. So we see Steidert here under get work. I go to record work and I look for him, so I'll do Ben, and I'm not seeing it. And so we get contacted. I can't find a job in record work even though it's on the schedule. What's happening? Well, what's happening typically is this, that you'll notice I have a date range ending yesterday. If we go back to the get work section, Ben Steidert is scheduled for today. So what's happening is the job is missing from record work because my date range is not set correctly. So I can come here and change the date range, hit change to view, and here he is. Keep in mind that if this date range needs to include the date the job was scheduled for. Now I'm going to expand this to the beginning of the week here. So just kind of a pro tip. Pay attention to this date. And if you do change the date, change the crew, you hit change to view to refresh this page with those new settings. Okay, now when you are in record work, you've got two of the options you have. One is, do you want to record times? Yes or no. If you say no, I don't want to record times, then this is how you would proceed. And I'm going to go back, see if I've got work from, I know I do. So I'm going to go back. I want to keep today's work for other illustrations. Okay. You've got the route sheet in front of you from the crew, and you can adjust the page size here to show everything. The order on this screen is in the routing sequence order because typically that would allow you to start at the top of the route sheet and do it, the same order you have here on the screen. You do not record times, so what you're able to do is you just come down and you see what jobs are done on the route sheet and you just cherry pick those. Now, if most of them were done, you could check them all and then undo the ones that weren't done. So you've got some options there with that. So you cherry pick what was done, and I won't do too many of these because this is tedious to watch. All right, and then you come down to the bottom of the list and you hit mark selected as done. So these jobs now say Y here, done, status is Y, done, Y, yes. And you've got some fictitious times in here because these have to be populated. Notice the date is today's date. Typically you're recording work for the day before or an earlier day that week. So let's say these were actually done on Tuesday. You can come here to date completed and put in Tuesday's date here. Now, if you check all, it will only change the date for the ones that are in green. I believe this color is. I'm colorblind, so that's always a challenge. But if I hit replace date, now that date has been changed to the 3rd. That's the second step. So there are 3 steps in recording work without times. The first step is cherry pick and hit that mark selected as done. Second step is checking all and changing the date to make sure that's correct. Having done that, I then can check all again, scroll down and hit finalize selected. And in the older versions of CLIP, this was called posting the work. So I finalize this. Now I come back up to the top and those jobs are done. They're gone from the list. And what happens when you finalize? The job now is in customer history as having been done on that date. It's been rescheduled, so a weekly mowing job is now scheduled for a week later, and it is ready to be billed. And billing is something we'll look at tomorrow. That's how you record work without recording times. Now, a couple things here. So I'm going to do this again, but just with Dick Van Dyke. So I hit mark selected is done. One thing you're also able to do, and we'll look at this perhaps in more detail, is you're able to record materials that might have been used and look at the notes. So you can do that without recording times. And then again, you check this off. Change the date. This also was done on Tuesday. And then check it off and hit finalize. All right. Now let's go into some other functions here in addition to recording work. Notice down here you've got skip job, add job to group, change crew, and reset job. Skip a job. Let's say that they get to George and Martha Washington's house and the sprinklers are on and they cannot mow. So you select this line. Now, by select the line, you don't click on the link. That'll take you off the screen. And and you don't need to check the box or check the pencil. You just click somewhere on this line. So now, because this line is this color, you know you're selected George and Martha. We come down here and I say skip job. Now I've got some different options here. I want to move it to the suggested date. So I'm going to say move to suggested date and make a note. Sprinklers on and save. Okay, so notice it now says S here. You're not quite done yet. You have to include this when you finalize work. Now, if you want to, you could just check it and scroll down and hit finalize right away. Or just you record other things, and then this needs to be checked, though, when you finalize it in order for that skip to be actually actuated or activated, so it moves to that date we selected. So we hit finalize selected. Now this job has been skipped. As you probably have come to learn, if you don't skip a job and if a job isn't done, it's going to keep showing up on this list until it is. So you don't have to skip someone. You can just wait for the day it's actually done. But if you want to skip it, so you're able to do so through this. Okay, the second scenario that these buttons represent is grouping. Grouping enables you, grouping applies to a couple different scenarios. One scenario is you've got neighbors and you do 2 or 3 houses at one stop. Typically, your crew will unload and the guy who's mowing will start mowing. And when he's done with the first property, he'll just move to the second property, start mowing there, and then on to the third. And in the meantime, the guy with the string trimmer is off trimming. And when he finishes, he's going to move to another property and so on. So you're not getting necessarily a clean start and stop time for how long they're actually on the given property. So what you can do is you can group those 2 or 3 stops together, enter one start time, one stop time, and then that will be distributed between the properties. So for instance, if we come here, notice we've got budgeted times. And the budgeted times determine how the actual time is proportioned. So here we've got 2 hours, and here we've got just over half an hour. So if these 2 jobs are grouped, this will get 4 times the actual time than this one because that's the ratio here. So that's Mariota and Luke Skywalker. So let's come down here. We hit add job to group. And we come down. Let me find these. So we have these three. And then I hit save and close. Okay, so now we come up here. And here now are the three jobs. Mariota, Luke Skywalker, and oh, you know what? I missed a step. You need to select one of the properties. So we're going to expand this so there's actually this property here that was involved with this. So we're grouping these three together, the Skywalker, Mariota, and Rumens here. So again, if I'd done this correctly, I would have selected Mariota and then done these. Okay, so now we've got these. So I come here to the pencil for that kind of, I'll call it the anchor. And I hit Y for this. I tab over. And they started at 8:22. And they were there to 11:45. And here I can change the date if I need to. So you don't have to do that replace date. So now I'm going to check this to update it. And notice what happened. It has now distributed the times between those four jobs and the three properties. So that's how the grouping works. Now, another use of grouping, let me see if I've got a good example. I don't. Let's say you could just, if you're doing multiple jobs at one property, you could group those jobs together. So we could have grouped together these two for Luke Skywalker and likewise distributed the times by grouping them together instead of measuring, okay, how long did the field mowing take? How long did the mow and trim take? So that's how you do the grouping function in record work here. Okay, change crew. Now we noticed back in the daily get work section under daily that you could adjust the schedule and you could move jobs from one crew to another. Another way to reassign a job is here. So I want to, so this guy needs to be done by a different crew. So I can, let's say, because of equipment issues or what have you. So I can come here, select change crew, and it's currently on mowing, and I move it to crew 3, and it should drop from this list because I'm not looking at crew 3's work. So then close. So it's gone now from this crew. So that's where if you get a call from a crew saying they're having equipment failures or they've had a delay and they may not get to their last jobs for the day, you can then use this to change the crew, change the crew to a assignment to a different crew. Okay, reset job. All right, so you're going through, you're checking these off, and you've mark this as done, and then you realize that you misread the route sheet and it's really this one and this job wasn't done. So you can come and you can select the job here. So we'll click on Tracy's name and hit reset job, and it undoes whatever it was you did. So you can start over again. Now, one thing, kind of a warning, some people have inadvertently marked multiple jobs as having been done. Like maybe they do the select all up here and they hit mark selected as done. They go, oh no, those weren't done. Well, for better or worse, you've got to fix these one at a time. You can't check them off and undo them as a group. So that's kind of a pain in the neck for that. All right, let me do this last one. And reset. Okay. Oops. All right, so that is some of the basics of recording work, but we're going to do a little more in depth. So we're going to come into Crew 5 here, or I'm sorry, we're going to go to January 5th, change to view here. Okay. All right, now we encourage folks to record start and stop times. So you do that as you hit the pencil, Y, tab over, and 8:12 to 8:29, and save. Now you've got some other things you can do when you're here. One thing is you're able to add materials and edit notes. So let's say you do some bagging for this. You click add here and you want to charge extra, and you click add, and here's a list of your jobs here. Let me see, and I've got leaf bags. We'll use this, and you used 4 of them, and it's a couple bucks you're going to add on. So you'd add material here, close, add. Oh, sorry. Close again, sorry. So now, and notice, when this says add, there is no material associated with that service. When after you've added it, it will say adjust. So just to, let me look at a customer. Do I have a customer open here? One thing let me start back even earlier. If you weren't aware of it, under Customize Material, you can set up a list of materials. And materials could include sprinkler parts like this. It could be chemicals you use for fertilization or pest control. It can be landscape products like plants and materials that you use, mulch, roses, etc. And you have the option of transferring the material onto the bill, whether you bill through QuickBooks or CLIPitc, so you can show the itemized materials with the price there that the customer, the charge to the customer, if you want to. Okay, so you set up your list here. Then within the customer, go into Mr. Cuomo, and we go to Scorpion Control. So what you can do within the job down here is assign a material. And you can do this back in the pattern job. And then whenever you copy that pattern job into the customer, the material is already there. So, but to do that, you go to add job material, and you would choose, I don't know what kills scorpions, so we'll do just Roundup there. So you can add it. So now you've got the material associated with that service already. Then when that service is on the calendar or on the schedule, you'll see it as adjust in this column. Okay, so that's how you can manage materials. Okay, I'm getting a note from Carrie. When scheduling work, my boss wants me to have schedule for next day produced by 3 p.m. whether the crew is done or not. Yay. Anyway, I can produce a route sheet with whatever work they have left in the next day's work, but how does the crew see the work in the app? Will checking over the work in the app let them see this if I do not move the work to the next day? Carrie, we're actually going to, I hope, get to the app in a bit, so we might be able to answer that when we get to that stage, so hang tight. Okay, so we've adjusted the material. You also have access here to the job notes. Now here are the notes that are associated with this job for this day. Now you would see then the notes the customer or the crew is seeing. And if you needed to, let's say that there's the crew tells you they now have a dog. You can say, watch out for the dog. You can translate it if you want to, and then you can save it permanently, which means that these notes are now updated back in the job for this customer. So this gives you a lot of control over the notes. And you could add an invoice note here. So, dear esteemed customer, we notice that you now have a dog. our policy about dog poop is that you are responsible for cleaning it up before our crew arrives. If they need to clean it up, there'll be a $5, $10, whatever charge added to your bill. So you could add that note, and then they'd see that on the bill. So this is, I think, a very nice feature. And one thing too, all of these notes are now in history too. So let's say you get a call from a customer who says they haven't been string trimming behind the air conditioning unit. Can they now do this? And 2 weeks later, the customer calls you back and says, hey, they're still not trimming behind the air conditioning unit. Well, you can go in and you can look at the notes the crew saw and whether or not you had updated the notes to communicate that to the crew, and so the crew just didn't know they had to do that. Or if you did update the notes to trim behind the air conditioner, and the crew just was ignoring it. So this gives you help. This is helpful because these notes will all be in the history for this job. Okay, so that's adjust and job notes. Let me just see if there's anything else I want to look at. No, I think that pretty much covers the office end of recording work. So this last section has been a lot about recording manually. So now let's go over to the app and hopefully answer Carrie's questions. Okay, so we are in the app, and so this is the Android version. Don't have a way of showing you the Apple version, but they're pretty close. Except I think Apple says settings here rather than what we see. Oh, I'm sorry, one other thing. When you start to record work, actually before you actually start, if you're recording it from paper, look and see who's actually on that crew today. And when you've done that, go to Customize and Crew and confirm that on Crew 1 are Karl Marx, John Lennon, and Scott Clark. And if you need to change it, so Karl Marx was not there, but Bob Godfrey was, so now you've updated this and you hit save. So when you've done this and you're back here and you now record a job, so let me go in and record a job for crew 1. So I say yes, and 8:32 to 8:43, save. And you hit the expansion icon over here. Here now are the crew members who are on the crew that day. So this is how, from the office, you'd make sure you're recording the correct crew and who's on it for that day. And likewise, we recommend, if you notice an error here, like maybe the times are wrong, do not hit the pencil and correct it. Either reset the job, like we showed you a few minutes ago, or come in and do the editing in this expansion screen here. This will reduce the number of pop-ups and errors and messages you get that will just annoy you. So either reset it here or do the expansion to do editing. Okay, back to the app. The crew is able here to change who's on. So they would say remove Scott from the crew and add Bob Godfrey. So now here are your crew members for that day. Now, this is somewhat relevant to Carrie's question. Up here, you can say show scheduled jobs. So I'm showing just today's work. If I come into this truck here, here's today's work. So here's Golly 155 Wilkes Boulevard. Here's Ben. Here's Jasmine Park. And so I'm showing just today's work. If I wanted to, over here, I can choose to show completed jobs, but I can also show this week's work. And that way, Carrie, you could fulfill your boss's request. If you're showing this week's work, they're going to see the work not just for today, but for tomorrow. And you can show completed, and let's show you what that looks like. So if we say show completed, completed work is down at the bottom and with the color here. So that should enable you to do what your boss requests. Okay. I'm going to go back to just show this week's work. And you'd show, all scheduled, which would show everything going back in time. So we'll just limit this to today's work. So include overdue jobs is irrelevant. Show overdue jobs first. So if you are showing a larger group of dates, you could put the overdue jobs at the top and do those. So that would override that routing you'd set up. And now these are different settings you can set, and this isn't a place to go through all of these in detail. We're going to concentrate on recording. So they click on the truck, and then they click on the customer. They see the notes here for the customer, and they come down here and hit start. So now the job has been time stamped and, as I mentioned, geo-stamped. So they're mowing here for Golly 155 Wilkes. And they could group work here if they wanted to, so they can do the grouping. If they need to. Mapping, they can see the job. If they're driving, they can pull up the map to show show directions to get there. And there are other things they can do here. They can skip the job. This would give them to where they can add materials. They can edit times on the jobs if they need to for the employees, say people come and go, or they make a data entry error in the stop time. They can edit that. They could assign this to another crew if need be. They could create an additional charge. So if the customer comes out and says, hey, can you drag those trash cans behind the back of the house for me? My back hurts. I'll pay you $20, and they could do a charge for that. An add job is if they're at a property mowing and they notice the beds need to be maintained, but that's not on the schedule, they could pull that job onto the schedule and do this. There is a setting, I don't know I guess I don't have it turned on, where if you wanted to, you could, if you've got it set up that you're going to send this customer a post-service notification, that is, you want to send them an email that this job has been done, they can actually send it immediately from the app once they've finished. Otherwise, those are bundled together and sent later that night from the office. So if you want, you could use this to then send a post-service notification. And so they finish, they hit end, that they're done. They go back. Golly's been dropped from the list. If we scroll down the bottom, there it is. And then we come back up and we start Ben. So we go ahead and hit start. Now, Ben notices that they have a bunch of dead shrubs. And so they're going to send a note to the office about this as a potential upsell. Okay, and so they save this. And then they go and they finish this job. Okay, now you're in the office and you come back with a cup of coffee and say, well, what has the crew been up to? Well, you hit refresh here, continue. And look, here's Golly. It's been done, and here's Ben Steidert. And here's a little note, and here's the content of the note. It's created what's called a to-do. And the to-do means that you'll have a notification when you're in this screen here. Oops. I don't know why that happened. So here's the notification. You have a job note, Ben Steidert. So I click here, takes me into his account, into the to-dos. I hit edit here, and there's the notes. So I say, oh, that's great. Well, I'm going to assign this to Lori to follow up on. So you hit add, and now Lori will see this. So you've got some ways to use this for communication from the field to the office and then within the office for that. So back here, and when you're using the app, you will see this screen be updated. And so that means if Mikhail calls and says, hey, do you know when they're going to be here? So you say, okay, well, they finished at Steinert's, and the next two jobs they have should take about an hour and a half with travel time. Well, Mr. Mikhail, they should be there about 2.5 hours. Oh, okay, thanks. So this can be helpful information for you as you're working with with folks to see, okay, when might they be at that property. Let me go back to the app, see if there's anything I'm missing on this quick overview. Now, one thing just kind of off topic from daily, although I guess it isn't. If you do snow removal and you use the app, one thing the crew is able to do, again, you would need to grant permission for this. They're able to finalize their route and reload it. So that means if you have a long snow event, it's snowing all day, and they go out and they do their route, say 25 stops, and they get done and it's still snowing, so they have to go back and redo it, they can finalize the jobs they've done, and then by hitting reload route, it will allow them to put everything back on the schedule, and they can go back and do it again. Likewise, in the reload route, it would allow them to cherry pick. So if they're not going to do all of those because of those contract variations you might have, they could check off the ones they want to then do a second time during that event. So that's a nice feature for those of you who do snow removal. Okay. I believe that covers what I wanted to cover under the daily routines. If you weren't in the class yesterday, I gave my email address out, which is very simple. It's Bill, B-I-L-L, the letter C as in cat, so Bill C at CLIPitc.com. If you have questions about what we've covered today, let me know. Otherwise, we'll hang around for a minute if you want to use the chat with a question. Oh, there we go. So, Alicia, going back to print route sheets, is there a way to print only the hours time budgeted without getting the breakdown? Okay, let me see. Okay, so we go to print route sheet. So you want one per page. All right, so let's just take a look and see what this looks like here. Oops. Okay. So without this, I think you could do it. This may or may not be useful to you, but if you do the route sheet with materials, there isn't. I don't know. This probably won't do it. No, that's multiple. Okay, so you want one per page. Well, one thing you might. I guess I'm going to have to say no, that's not possible at this point. Let me just, you've got something like a service ticket here. That's one per page. So you've got, this is an entirely different animal though. So I don't know what else you want. What else you want on it. You could try one of these route sheet invoice forms, the bottom 4 here. Probably the two that would be most appropriate would be service ticket or plain paper. Both of those are one per page. Okay, let me make a note of that. So so route sheet one per page. Turn off that breakdown by crew. Okay, I've made a note of that to send to development. Thanks, Alicia. So, yeah, sorry I don't have a better answer for you right now. But one alternative might be to look at either the plain paper invoice, because this again is one per page. But there might be an issue with the route sheet notes not appearing on this, but invoice notes did or do appear on it. Okay. Okay, the crew has gotten smart that they can figure out when broken out how much time they can spend, but we want to still have the hours. So you want to show the hours, but not necessarily the breakdown. That makes sense. So I will send a note to development to see about either removing that altogether or making it an option here. Just like you've got, options here. Okay, we'll look into that. Okay, well, tomorrow we have a class on billing. Just to be clear, there are 3 billing methods possible in CLIP. We are not covering the one that involves QuickBooks Online. So we're going to look at billing out of CLIP itself and billing with integration between CLIP and QuickBooks Desktop. So please plan to be here tomorrow for that. If you're interested, you should have gotten the email with the links. And we're past our 75-minute mark, so I'm going to say good afternoon to everybody. Hope you have a great day, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And we're going to get this uploaded on YouTube for people to see. Folks, I'll see you later. Bye.